call this meeting to discuss the Mattis Park Trail. I didn't feel like, I felt like it's the board decision to go forward with the proposal they have presented to us, or have a contractor complete the job as was bid. So, with that being said, I think we talked about it, I know we talked about it Tuesday at our meeting, the alternative proposal. And Josh, I think, and the contractor, you the contractor.
Yeah, this is Bobby Sullivan.
Excuse me?
Bobby Sullivan. If you want me to, I can get up and
Sure,
give a debrief on.
absolutely. That'd be.
That way everybody.
Yeah.
So we spoke about this in commission meeting the other day. The trail was originally designed at 7 feet wide, a walking area with 6 inches of curving on each side for a total of an 8-foot width. And when the trail was poured just on the inner circle, it was discovered that it was actually 5 foot, which is the same as a sidewalk with 6 inches, which makes it a total of 6 foot wide instead of 8 foot wide. So the contractor, Bobby Sullivan, he actually discovered that, and he called me. So I had an on-site meeting with Jim and John, and Bobby, and myself, and we said, you know, what are the solutions? It's either tear one side of the curving out, widen it, or the proposition Bobby proposes. He said, look, the parking lot's in really bad shape. He said, I'll be willing to come in here, regrade this whole parking lot, put some kind of hard surface down so you guys have a nice parking area to get to the trail, and we'll still carry on with the correct width once we, you know, connect in and get over the bridge. So we kind of determined, you know, that's a good deal because I went and measured the square yardage. So based on the miss on the trail, you had 295 square yards of area that was missed by that width. The area measured of the parking lot is 556 square yards. So what he's proposing to fix is actually going to require more funds than what we had to widen the trail. So that was one option. If you have more inquiry about what he's willing to do as far as grading out the parking lot and what kind of surface we're talking about putting down, he can speak to that more. But that's kind of the gist is we had a 295 square yard miss by not having the width of the trail, but we have a 556 square yard area that we can improve as part of the project. And I also spoke to DEP about this. I wanted to be forthcoming with them about that because we have to do an as-built on that and show. And she said that would be no problem, that once we did the as-built, they could change the scope to reflect the improvements to the parking area because it is part of the trail and the difference in width. So that's essentially what has happened.
Okay. Questions, comments?
What are the options? It sounds like one is tear out the curb and expand it 6 inches, the other is just to do the parking lot and leave it as is.
Yep. Those are options. And that's why I'm on.
I have a question.
Okay.
I heard you say it would require more funds. I guess you were speaking of the
No,
parking lot?
I'll correct that.
Okay,
No, there will be no change in the contract amount, and I'll clear what I said is the 556 square yards of parking area. So you basically had about a $5,400 miss. If you take the 295 square yards of material and multiply it by the unit price, it was $5,000 it was in the email that I provided. What my point was is, as far as compensation for doing the parking area, you're actually putting
Getting
back
more
that
than the money,
295
right.
square
Yeah,
yards
right.
plus that
Okay.
double.
Be a contractor's
That's what I'm
expense,
making
that's what I'm
Sorry.
saying.
There will be no change in the contract. The contract amount stays as it is.
and I have one other question for the contract.
You wanna come up, Mr. Bobby?
Did you are you the guy that came over post-hurricane and worked in the
I
same?
had one of my men, JJ Ray, work over here with the city then, yes, sir.
Yeah, helped litter roads and stuff?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I thought there was a connection there.
We messed up, and I brought it to everybody's attention. We made a mistake.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I can tear it out today, or we can figure something else out. I did add concrete slopes, the part off the bridge. I added that so you wouldn't have rock on a slope. So that's paved solid on both sides of the bridge since we reconfigured that. I added a little pad at the parking lot to go onto the trail. We've already done that. And we screwed up. I can't pretend that we didn't, because I was transparent, and I told all of them, look, I messed up. I'll tear it out, whatever, we messed up. But they looked at it as DOT, because we pour all kinds of stuff for DOT. We got a big job on Business 98 for DOT, and they 5 foot, 5 foot, 5 foot, 5 foot. We preach 5 foot, 6 foot overall, and they took that. My superintendent took that and ran with it, and I actually found it on the drawings. But we're willing to eat the extra cost of that other, or we can tear it out, pour the other side back, and just add the 2 foot. We're compacting the trail this morning, and we didn't have it finished the other day. We're compacting the trail this morning. They're over pouring, and we're gonna try to finish the stuff up to the boat ramp. We're about to close it out if you're happy with it. But we don't wanna do anything you're not happy with, because my reputation's on the line. So we wanna do what's right, no matter what that is. If that's tearing it out, if that's right, that's what we'll do, is putting it back. What we agreed to before, I'm good with that too.
All right.
I went down there and looked at it, and to be honest with you, if I was designing it today, I would have probably leaned toward designing it the way that you made the mistake. And the reason was, I liked the narrower trail. It didn't get so intrusive into the green space of that small area. So I liked it, and I don't have a problem with it. So if we can get a parking lot out of you, I'm on board.
Here's what I told them I'd do. If they move the utilities, because I didn't wanna move the existing utilities, and John agreed to that, we'll cut it down and put in base rock and roll it. Now, you had a 57 stone on top. I don't know if you wanna go back with that. I would prefer to do lime rock base. That way, if you ever decide to pave it, all you gotta do is clip it up and pave it. You know, if you ever decide to extend that pavement, you can do that. It's a little dustier, but you got a more user-friendly surface, especially with people that are,
So you're talking about
Handicap.
lime rock base instead of the rock that's.
the rock,
the
that-
trail.
yeah, I mean, I can put the rock that's on the trail,
Yeah,
but for tire traffic, when they turn,
yeah,
it'll rut it up.
yeah.
So we don't recommend that in that kind of area.
But what about when it rains? That lime gets to be a pretty good mess, that,
No, not if you get too many fines, it gets a mess.
gotcha.
It'll get, a little
You're
gummy
talking
on
about
top
a large limestone rock.
with base. It's 57 with fines. So the
Okay.
fines bond it together so it doesn't rut up. But what we can do, and I'm willing to do this too,
Yeah.
we can take the 57 base and put it on there and then put about a half inch of that 89 gravel over the top of it. And it'll look like the same, and it'll perform the other, and it'll keep your dust down and your,
That's the trail
Right.
rock, the 89 is the trail rock.
Okay, gotcha. All right,
Mayor, I'm fine with the, as it is. I mean, it's gonna take a lot more time to tear it up and start over again.
all right, okay, all right.
Throw in bolts so you got a deal.
Commissioner Langston, you got any comment?
no, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Well, I didn't hear Ashford, what, throw in what?
Bolt cell? Let's do that
Oh,
too.
I thought you were saying throw in those, parking stops,
No.
the concrete parking stops.
I'm gonna have some extra storm damage ones that poured in. We'll look at
Bobby, so, of course, the trail yesterday, when I saw it, it hadn't been compacted. It was kinda like walking in beach sand, so, when it gets compacted, that'll make a firmer surface, be easier to walk
Yeah, they're
on.
already compacted now. We have to compact it, sweeten the surface up, because it's went down about that much.
Okay,
Sweeten it back up and then compact it again. So it's gonna get 2 passes with a plate compacted.
okay.
Mayor, Commissioner Lowry, wasn't able to be here today too, he wanted to iterate to y'all that he was okay with that, but he also said he would look at if y'all were interested in the limestone rock, he said he was amenable to that too, if y'all were to put that down and consider paving in the future. So he just wanted to let y'all know.
Gotcha, okay. I think if we make a motion to go along with the proposal, we certainly need some kind of, something, in writing describing the area that's gonna be, you said the parking area, that might mean something different to him than it does to me and does these guys. So, you got a proposal for that, John?
What we can do is we can just write something and attach this drawing that I provided y'all as an exhibit. If that's amenable to you guys, it outlines the area. the parking
Basically,
area.
what we're doing is amending the contract.
Correct.
Because the as-bills, the state's gonna require that
Right.
anyway.
Clint,
We'll have that.
that's okay.
That's fine, we just need to be detailed as to what exactly we're amending the contract to.
Yeah, he's got
And that's
I'll take
fine.
drawings and so forth, so.
I assume that's that park and square area connecting to the paved road?
Yeah, it goes almost, well, there's a portalet over there, it goes almost to that portalet and goes back toward the trail that goes to the boat.
But does it, okay, I
Yeah,
got what you're saying
There's
there.
no
Okay, I
asphalt
see it,
shop.
I see it,
it's
okay.
actually makes the parking lot a little bit
Yeah, no, that's
larger
fine.
than it is, than it used to be. Put it that way. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to, amend the, contract for the walking trail, as presented. Yes, sir.
Which option y'all going with, Mayor? I know we looked at 2 or 3 different types of
Do
stone.
what now?
We looked at 2 or 3 different types of stone. Which stone do y'all want? Y'all want the
Oh.
limestone or you want the 57 rock with the,
I
89
think,
above
I
it?
think, was the.
I want the
lime-
nicest, most expensive job that we can.
Thank you for that.
I don't want any ruts, that's my only
I
concern.
don't want it to turn white when it rains and then it tracks in the vehicles, because what happens, and I commend you for the job down there, it looks great, excited about it. But if we go cheap on the parking lot, all we'll hear is how crappy the parking lot is. They'll forget about all the other good stuff. So I think you had a good idea when you explained the lime rock and then putting some of the actual rock that's on the trail on top of it to keep the dust down.
I'm good with that. That cost me a little more, but I'm fine with that.
And actually, if you do that, Bobby, just, maybe half inch or something, and then if it rolls, it will go into the lime rock, maybe, I don't, is that doable?
My opinion is I think he just needs to be very, very light with how much rock he puts.
I
because
agree with that.
Then you'll be in a situation not only where you're tracking lime rock and it's washing off, if you put even, I believe, my personal opinion is even over an inch of that stone, you're gonna get into that rutting issue. It just needs to be enough to dust it where it kind of sits down in that
I
lime
agree.
rock and makes a hard surface and it colors the same as the trail. You're just more looking for aesthetic than
Yeah.
you are a stability.
You guys understand that, it just, to make a better looking, cleaner surface.
It almost like you need to take a fertilizer and spread it out there.
I agree. And
We
then
call
roll
it painting it on.
Y'all gonna be able to roll that after you?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm willing to tear out the other. I don't want this
I
to be a
understand.
black eye for me.
I understand.
I really don't.
Okay. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to, amend the contract as presented to us with the lime rock and a light coating of the 87 stone on top.
Motion to approve.
Second. There's a motion. Second, Commissioner Ashbrook. Any more discussion? Everybody understand what we're doing? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 4-0. Thank you, Bobby, appreciate you coming and taking care of it. All right, we've got Mr. Joe Whitmer from Gulf County Chamber with us this morning. He wants to talk about the blues on the lot, which is on Reed Avenue this Saturday. So Joe, come on up and tell us, you've been doing your anti-rain dance.
We've been doing the anti-rain dance. Some people were going to Tallahassee yesterday. I asked everyone up there to encourage the governor to give us a order that we won't have rain on Saturday. And I hope the commission gives us the same executive order here in town. As the mayor and I were discussing yesterday, the only one other thing that we might be able to do is to put a large tent over the center of Reed Avenue, so we give some cover to people in case of rain tomorrow. That would be probably in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $3,500 if we could pull that off. The chamber, we don't have the money to do that. We're lucky. Chamber's lucky to have 2 part-time staff members. So if the city had the ability to possibly offset that cost, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm watching the weather. It looks like the weather is moving in a little bit faster than what they called for. The forecast continues to change. I'm still doing the rain dance and hoping that it doesn't rain. The other side of this with complete, transparency is, it looks like it's gonna be a windy day too. And so I asked for a possible tent, and I don't even really know if we're gonna, if anyone would actually erect that tent. I stopped and talked to Tom and Angie this morning, who live around the corner from me, and, about the Centennial tent, which they are gonna erect for us as well. And they have concerns as well, because there's really no place to really anchor the tent. They're okay with up to 15 miles an hour, but if it gets over 15, closer to 20, then they don't want to erect that tent either. So, we've got windy conditions and rain conditions, and this is, if nothing else, a great time to share with the commission, some of the challenges of trying to do live events, in a coastal town, period. So with that, I'm open for questions, comments, and, I'm not taking any criticisms today.
What are you asking us for, Joe?
Well, I'm asking if the city was willing to offset the cost of the tent, if, not to exceed a dollar amount, and then we could figure out what the rest of that dollar amount is, if we're even able to erect one. And so what the estimated cost is $3,000 to $3,500. If we are able to erect one, would the city offset that cost? Would the city pay for it, more or less? I'm saying offset the cost because really this is a community thing. It's about all of us. It's about trying to get people on Reed Avenue and continue to spend money. And there's plenty of people. There's other things that we could do, like move to the Centennial Building. We still have a COVID. That's still in the air. So I'm not really feeling comfortable and confident about that, notwithstanding any of the other issues that would be going in the Centennial Building. Setting another date is very difficult. We now sell our events outside of our region. That's both kind of crazy when you think about weather happens, but if we've got a beautiful day, we've got a lot of people that come into town that otherwise wouldn't. And as far as I know, and David can attest to this, I don't think that there's a hotel room that's here this weekend. And I would like to think that part of that is Blues on Reed. And so with all of those things, my a tent is now at your hands.
Joe, with the people that erect the tent, and the chief's not here, but people that erect the tent, be able to get it down the next morning, I guess you would say, to open Reed back up.
That I don't have that firm commitment, yes, but yes, sir, that would be the plan, yes, sir.
Yeah, not drag around till noon time or something like that, because quite a few restaurants open on Sunday for brunches and things like that, actually 11 o'clock, so, anyway. All right, comments, questions, suggestions, I asked Joe about a rain date, and, it's not possible. Not possible. Jim?
Couple of questions. I thought the event was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Joe.
No, sir. Blues on Reed is just Saturday.
Just Saturday, okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
The other question I've had, was about the erecting the tent itself. Are you going to drive stakes into the road, or how are you going to secure that great big tent?
We can't let them do that.
No, there would be no stakes in the road, and so that would be done with ballast of some sort, whether they're water ballast or concrete ballast.
Because we just paved it all down there.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't do that, and, that's how we ballast it would be the next question, but there would be no penetration of the street whatsoever.
I wish we could just give them the Centennial Building, but we got problems this weekend too, guys.
Oh, is that what's going on?
Yeah, we got problems, right?
Yeah,
So,
I know.
just use that.
And the garden club function, what day, Saturday?
Yeah.
Saturday morning.
Saturday morning. Where is that function? At the
At,
garden club?
the garden club.
8th Street, okay, yeah. So,
Joe, I'll give you a little bit of a mixed message. I'm fine with the 10 on Reed, but I'm not fine with the city participating in a member-driven organization. I know in the past we used to donate money to the chamber, but I don't want to open this can of worms. This chamber, or this city, including myself, has opened too many cans of worms this year, and you're going to see a different Dave Ashbrook making decisions from here on out. My heart's froze over, and I don't think that we should open this can of worms. I really don't. But tent, I'm fine with. I think that if you asked a couple people in town for sponsorships, you'll probably get it. Talk to me after, I think I know who you should talk to, and you know one of them right off the top of your head. But I would not be in favor of paying for this, because then the next organization is gonna want the same thing. It'll happen, it will happen.
Kind of boils down to, folks wanting to waive the deposit on centennials and that type of thing. It's about the same, but.
Don't take advantage of my kindness, and I would have been nice still today.
Comment.
Well,
anybody?
believe it or not, I agree with Ashbrook. I was running it through my head, and I'm thinking, you know, what can we do as the city outside of giving you money? Because he's 100% correct. The minute that we give you, if it's $1,000 or $3,000, the next group, even if they only needed 800, they're going to say, well, we need $3,500. And
Turtle Festival.
there you go, you know.
You're not helping.
I thought we had a tent.
Yeah,
Mayor Joe, would it be easier to set the tent up down at Core Park? I
It-
know you want it downtown on Blues on Reading, exactly what you want, but
Well, and it might be, Jim, it might be, and the flip side of that is still rain, and so now we're not, our heads aren't wet, but we're sanding water. But that is a great option too.
I think
No, I'm completely with you on
I'm just
that.
trying to think about putting a tent up. Are you gonna tie it off to the buildings, or somehow you gotta secure that thing somehow down there,
Well,
especially with high winds?
Well, what we use in Memphis we've got several at Memphis in May, and we use concrete bollards. Not bollards, ballasts.
That's what John said, probably.
Yeah, and they come in on a truck and they just set them off. And what I've seen locally being used are 55-gallon barrels or barrels of water. And so you get the light on site, you fill it up, wherever it needs to be filled up. That part I'm not sure of either. If we got those, I might need a fire hydrant somewhere. I don't know. Can you get a fire hydrant, Dave? Are you okay with fire hydrant?
As long as you pay for it.
Okay, all right.
and, I talked to Joe, I think yesterday, and asked him to come and explain what was going on, and if there's any way the city can help. Anybody, you guys had suggestions, we wanna keep people downtown, and I know the city has some tents, but they're small tents,
Yeah.
that you use for fish fry, and that's not gonna help you much.
Right.
So,
Well, and this is a great opportunity to stand before you and continue to say that, we still need, it would be nice in our community if we had maybe a permanent stage to offset a producer's needs. So when we do have a rain like this, then the producer has, $3,000, $3,500 in their back pocket they can pull out for a tent in this situation, or go and get more sponsorships as we might need to do today. So the stage itself cost me $2,500 to put up, and that's for chamber events, that's for our personal event. And so, there's things that, it's a great expense to bring people into town and to have these fun
Yeah.
things. So, and I'm just standing before you, keep those things in mind as we make plans. And you guys provide for even more services, for the citizens of Port St.
That being said, the stage at Core Park is still on our capital improvement plan, long-term, long-range capital improvement plan, so it's before us, it's just a matter of funding,
Well, I'm here to support it and to continue to ring that bell.
okay? All right, any other questions? I don't think, we're gonna be able to help you with your money. Anything else, of course, the city is always there to help.
Well, I appreciate this. This was
We
from the
we
city.
thank you, Joe, you're doing a great job with the chamber.
Thank you, and thanks for letting me come and even ask.
Anybody else got anything for Joe? All right, buddy.
Thank you
so
guys.
much.
Thank you for your
Appreciate it.
support.
All right, guys, since some discussion items by commission, I will throw one thing out, and I'd like to see it on the next agenda is, I talk about trailers on property for homes. I think we made a mistake a while back when we said, if your home was damaged in the storm, you can have a trailer on it, live in it while your home is being repaired. for a 6-month period of time. We didn't discuss homes that were completely destroyed and had to be, they were deemed unsafe and uninhabitable, and they had to be torn down. And so, let's just say, I can use myself as an example, my house had to be torn down. I'd like to bring a trailer and live in it while my house is being built, and for an X period of time. And so we've got houses on Constitution, Monument, and Long that were destroyed, not just damaged. And so I'd like to see us discuss that and possibly make a rule change. We could say, okay, if your house is destroyed or a piece of property that you purchased, the house is destroyed, and you want to, and you're gonna homestead that property, which is one of the rules on the damage, that you got an active building permit, and you got X number of months to complete it. In the case of building a house, of course, we'd have to give them more than 6 months, but it's something I'd like y'all to think about, because we've got, I know Jim got a call, Scott got a call, I got a call from a person that's moving here. He's sent me a picture of his home that he's gonna build, and, I mean, he's gung ho, he's ready to come to Port St. Joe and live. He bought an expensive piece of property on the highway that was listed at $325,000 for the dirt. I don't know if that's what he ended up paying, but I guarantee it's probably close to that. He wants to build, at the going rate, today's rate at $300 a square foot. He's probably gonna build close to $1 million house on that piece of dirt. And there's nowhere for him to rent. He'd like to possibly rent a house, there's nowhere to rent. So I think we could accommodate those without bringing up the 55-gallon drum of worms about trailers, because we'd make it specific to homes that were destroyed in Hurricane Michael. To me, Clint, would that be an easy do?
Yeah, I don't think that'd be that difficult.
So I want us to think about that and think about what it might mean, and we could be very specific with no extensions. I mean, tell them today, you sign this, you got 18 months to get your house. If it's not ready, the trailer's gotta go.
I mean, that makes sense, Mayor, because if you just have the sticks to your house up and there's no walls and no roof, it's uninhabitable. That's technically a structure that should be condemned, but they're building it. So what would be wrong with allowing somebody to live on that property while it's in progress? If you are under contract with a contractor, do whatever you want. They set construction trailers up to run the offices out of, so.
It's allowed when in the commercial district, you can have a commercial
Yeah.
trailer on there, but in the residential, the way the code is, you can tweak the code to do something very similar.
But we gotta enforce the rules, because inevitably someone's gonna take advantage of it or lie to us.
Now, is this an ordinance that we did for the 6-month damage thing, or is it just, I mean, we didn't
What
have
we
to
did was-
advertise and all that, we just made a
A
decision.
policy, you made a
It's a
policy, that's what
policy,
you
the
did.
word I'm looking
Because currently, the land development regulations, which was done by ordinance on there, says that within 2,500 feet of Highway 98, which covers your whole town, it has to be a permanent structure. So
Right.
they're not allowed anywhere in town, any other circumstances in a residential district. But what you did was you went back and, hey, look, we're gonna give a variance to that policy and to that ordinance in there by a short-term policy that you created.
I mean, I'd like to tie it down to
Yeah.
homes that were destroyed in the storm, but once again, we've got vacant lots in town that people are building on, and they wanna live in their trailer. But I still think it should be a homesteaded piece of property, not a second home.
But you can't homestead the property until
Oh,
the house is
houses are
built.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Well,
It must become their permanent.
so we need to figure that out, and I said homestead, because I remember the damage
Yeah.
policy we made. So I didn't know,
Maybe Clint could draft up some type of affidavit that they start saying, hey, I'm building a home, it's gonna be my permanent structure, and it's gonna be primary residence, and I'm gonna homestead as soon as it's
Right,
available.
I'm changing my driver's license to, I mean, this guy said, you know, he's gonna do all that. He wants to come. You talked to him.
I did, and I felt for, his story. I did point out when he told me that he felt like he was in a hardship condition. I said, I agree, but the fact is, you created it.
Yeah,
The hurricane didn't create your hardship.
He's moving too.
The purchase of the property and the selling of a house in Louisiana and then one in Alabama created the problem.
right.
And I shared with him that, I just bought a lot and plan to build a house. So I wanna make sure people like me are not allowed to put a camper on a piece of property. So I do have a lot of compassion for the ones that have a home that was destroyed.
Mhm.
So we have to be real careful on the language.
I agree.
I had another call a few months back. He bought one of the lots at Jones Homestead. He lives in Weewa, bought a nice lot down here, and he was like, well, what I want to do is sell my house in Weewa, move down here, live in the fifth wheel for 6 or 8 months and build a house. It has nothing to do with the hurricane,
Right.
So I'm okay if it's connected to the loss of a home. I think we can argue we're helping somebody out, but the doctor guy is a tough one for me because I'm not sure in my mind, is he really affected by the hurricane or just the property he purchased was? Because the minute that we agree that situation is okay to put up, you're gonna hear people like in my situation argue, well, what's the difference? He just happened to buy a lot that used to have a house on it. And me and the guy from Weewa, we just bought a lot that's just a lot. But we're also gonna build a home and live in the city of St. Joe. So,
Are we gonna combine this to like the situations like Rex's, where he actually lived in the house and got destroyed, he wants to build a new one, and he wants to stay in a travel trailer?
well, I think
Because
that
there is a
was,
big difference.
yeah, that was the original intent in my mind. It was only to accommodate the people that
Current
had a
property
house
owners.
and, exactly.
Current property.
And once they sell that property, I don't know that, well, currently, we're not extending that situation to a secondary buyer. But, I mean, we could do that, but it would have to be really strict language that would preclude properties that had no damage at all from the
Yeah,
hurricane.
I agree. We had that not long ago, with Richard Morgan on end of, is that 16th, 16th? Yeah, I mean, same scenario, but but different. So that's why I brought it up. I want everybody to think hard about what would be best for the city. That's the best way I can put it, so.
Yeah, because we did, and I told the guy, I said, well, we want you to come to St. Joe and build a nice house. We just gotta figure out how we can accommodate you and not open up.
I think there are 5 or 6 lots on Constitution right now that are for sale, including mine, so.
So we're gonna have that.
We're not.
Yeah.
Recontinue.
I would be okay with it as long as it's definitely hurricane relief issue. I could probably be swayed to even go to a new purchaser, a new buyer, like in his case.
Okay, well, let's, Ms. Charlotte, y'all put that on the agenda for Tuesday, and then we can make a change, and Clint, maybe you heard enough.
I could start trying to
Put something together for us, of what should be a policy and not an ordinance.
I'm having,
Probably, we were talking, probably a resolution would probably be
yeah, we just
If
resolution
you wanna go down
temporarily
that,
suspending the land use regulations.
Gotcha, and then you would have to draft something that these people would sign that say that they're.
Where I'm having a little bit of problem is the whole scenario that you just outlined.
The problem is we've had people take advantage of it.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
there's gonna be people buying lots, wanting to build, and this
Well,
ain't
that's
gonna be.
how-
What we could do is, in the resolution, have an end date.
Oh, no doubt.
We could just decide, hey, we're gonna extend this out for a year.
Mhm.
And if you haven't sold your property that was destroyed, the house was destroyed, but you still have the lot,
Yeah,
if you wanna fall into this exemption, you're gonna have to sell that property and find a buyer within this amount of time, because when it's
Get out
over.
building the house.
but but in that, we would give a property owner X number of months to build a house.
Right,
He wouldn't be short in building his house because he
right,
came
yeah,
in.
yeah. You have to start the building by a certain date or pull the permit.
Yeah.
So Mayor, who's our enforcement arm, and do they have time to do this? Is this gonna fall on code enforcement? Because that's how you get taken advantage of.
Right now, we have 3 that I'm aware of that we have permits for based on our current policy. We've got, Ms. Frenchie Ramsey's house, that, lady works at the hospital that's got a permit on there. They're working on the house there because it was damaged during Hurricane Michael. It's their primary residence. You got one on 16th Street that currently has one off of Ramsey's old house. And then, the Maddox house, Beverly's house. That's the 3, that all 3 of those houses were damaged in Hurricane Michael, and they're working to repair to put back together. They're being homesteaded. That's the 3.
But you know, you bring up a good point. 2 of the 3, in my mind, are in the category that the person
Right.
that called us are. They're secondary buyers.
They are.
Yeah, because
Well, that's right.
2 of the 3 are not the homeowners.
16th Street, bought as is and repairing.
Right, and Miss Frenchie's house,
Yeah, same thing.
was
They're
purchased
homesteaded,
after
but they are
the-
secondary. They're not, they were not the family there when the hurricane struck.
Right.
Yeah, so that's why we need to tweak this.
Yeah, yeah.
Somehow.
But we do wanna facilitate getting these properties fixed.
Yeah.
And that was it. That
No
was.
doubt it'd be a code violation and they're gonna have to tear it down.
I wanna keep people moving here, and I want them to bring workers with them. but,
That was it, that was the idea, to
Figure
clean
out
up
the
the
way.
neighborhoods. Go down Palm Boulevard today compared to what Palm Boulevard looked like 2 years ago, guys, it was terrible. So you can see where town is coming back together, and sometimes that helps them if they get the houses put back together better. But at the same time, you don't want somebody with a campground.
Yeah.
And you said the other part of that equation that we're trying to figure out is we wanna make sure the trailer they're living in while the house is being built is on the backside of the property and not on the front of the street.
A lot of things that we deal with, if out of sight, out of mind, we don't get calls on them, but
Yeah.
if it's sitting in the front yard right there, like I said, with a bonfire, we're gonna get a call.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's my concern, Mayor, is tourist quarter, when you brought up 98, that doctor that owns a house on 98, do you really want all your tourists driving by seeing that? I mean,
Well, if it would not front the street and be on the
it's on the
backside,
back, I love it.
it would be doable because it'd be covered up once the house is framed. So, anyway, I hate to see we're trying to make progress. All right, guys, anything else? Anybody? Good of the order? Okay, thank y'all for coming. Appreciate it very much.
Remember Tuesday at 4 o'clock, same place, 4 o'clock with our joint meeting.
Tuesday, that is correct. Yeah, yeah. So, get